So guys, we are going to continue a discussion with respect to statistics, and in this topic we are going to discuss about what is variable. Since in statistics we deal with different kind of data, it is very much important to understand what exactly is variable. So over here, first of all, I'll just give a very simple definition of a variable. I'm not talking about variables, but I'm just talking about variable. Okay. So variable, I can define variable is a property that can take up any value. Very simple definition. A variable is a property that can take up any value. Okay, very simple definition, not at all difficult at all, very simple to understand. Suppose if I take an example of age. Age is a kind of variable. I can assign it to 25 or I can assign it to 30. This one variable cannot just have two different values at the same time. It can have just one value. Suppose if I take a list of ages, something like this, 12, 20, 25. Here I have multiple values, right? So I will definitely not call this as variable. So this is not a variable. This is like list of ages. As I said that according to the definition, variable is a property that can take up any value. Okay. So this kind of value it can take up. Okay. Suppose if I say that gender. So gender also can be male or female. I can take up this specific value itself. I can take up any different kind of values. I can take up height as one example. Height I can say 7.2 inches or 182 centimeters, anything. It is up to us, right? Based on different values that we have, right? Now it is important to understand what are the different types of variable. Okay, so here also I'm going to define as different types of variables, right? So first of all, if I just go ahead and write about variable over here, first two important type. Okay, the first type that I would like to talk about is something called as quantitative variable, and we'll also see different kind of examples. And the second type is something called as qualitative, right? Qualitative or categorical variable. Okay, so quantitative or qualitative or categorical variable. Okay, now if I want to still divide quantitative variable, this is again divided by two types. Okay, the first type is something called as discrete quantitative variable, and the second type is something called as continuous quantitative variable. Okay, and in qualitative type we don't have any such subdivision. Now let's take some of the examples. Now first of all, let's go from left to right. One is discrete quantitative. What is this discrete quantitative? Let me take some examples over here. Suppose I say that, okay, what is a I may just say, I may just define a variable saying that, okay, how many children does A have? Let's take this specific example. How many children does A have? I cannot say that A has 2.5 children, A has 3 children. A has 3 children, I can definitely say. I cannot say that A has 4.5 children, right? So over here in discrete quantitative, the major focus is that you have to take a whole number. So any examples that you probably take which has a specific whole number, not as a fraction, okay, this becomes a discrete quantitative variable. Okay, like suppose I want to talk about A has probably 5 houses. I cannot say that A has 5.5 houses. Okay, this is not possible. So this is one example. Okay, in discrete you have a whole number. Now in case of quantitative, continuous quantitative, suppose I take an example of age. I'll specifically say the age can be 25.5. I can say age can be 26.7. Forget about age. If I take the best example about this can be height. Now height basically says that over here, if I talk height with respect to centimeters, if I go ahead and calculate it, I may say 175.5 centimeters. So here I'm actually using a decimals, right? 0.5, 0.6. It can have any kind of values. Okay, it can have any values. Okay, it can be a positive. Obviously, in this particular case, negative number won't exist that much, but definitely I can definitely say from 0 to plus positive any infinite number. I can use any one. It may be a continuous value. It may be different values. Ages, I can say 25.5. I can say 26.6. I can also take an example of weight, right? Suppose if I take an example of weight can have values like 180, okay, 180 pounds. They can say 90 pounds. I may say 72 kgs, right? So over here, I can also say 72.5 kgs. I can also say 72.7 kgs. So here, any decimal values can be considered. Here, in the case of discrete continuous, I'll specifically be strict to, you know, a whole number. I can say, suppose one example I said that, you know, how many bank accounts A has. Suppose I say 5 bank accounts. I cannot say 5.5. It is not possible, right? So let's talk about some more example with respect to discrete quantitative variable. So some more example can be number of students in a class, right? In this particular case, you cannot say that there are 45.5 students. You'll basically say, okay, there are 50 students, right? You can also take one more example, and number of workers in a company. You'll say that, okay, there are 100 workers in a company, right? So this kind of examples where you have a finite value, you cannot, even though you have a finite value, but you cannot use any decimal numbers over there. It will not be definitely a fraction. Here you can see that in a continuous value, it can be a fraction, right? You can use kgs like 72.5, 72.7. This different kind of examples you can actually consider. So I hope you have understanding about this. The last category of a variable is called as qualitative or categorical variables. Here the examples are very simple, guys. Suppose if I take one category as gender, okay? Gender can have values like male, they can have values like female, right? So this is one example, right? Second, I can say another example like colors, right? So different colors I can actually have, red, green, blue, right? So here you can see that these all are categories, okay? This will not be in a numerical format. Sorry, if you cannot see this, okay. Colors, red, green, blue, okay? So here you can actually see that over here you will not have any numerical values, but instead here you will have categorical values, or these are also called as qualitative values, right? So different categories you'll be mentioning over here. One example I told about gender, the other example I told about colors, right? So I hope you are getting this very simple understanding between what is the difference between discrete, continuous and qualitative or categorical variable. This may also be a very important interview question, and they may ask you anything related to it, and they may also ask you some of the examples over here. Okay, so very simple. In discrete quantitative, you can say number of students, suppose how many bank accounts a person own. You know, over here you can take some example of height, weight. You know, here you can actually take some example of a category variables like gender, colors, places, you know, states. All this kind of examples you can definitely take ahead, right? So yes, we'll continue the session. In the next topic, we will be discussing about some more very much important things. So please make sure that you watch this entire session properly once again.